Hey, feel I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that say stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up. Feel I'm in the mood for a change up. I leave the city and return with my change up. They got amnesia, don't remember how they played us.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm LaWanda.
I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Ron.
And today we are back for yet another episode of BMF. This was season 1, episode 4, and it was titled Heroes. So you guys hang tight. We'll be right back with you to get started. We're talking BMF. I believe this is the midpoint in the season. I think there may be like only 8 episodes for this first season. So this is episode 4. So we halfway there, and things are definitely getting hot.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw any heroes in this episode.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing why it was titled Heroes.
Well, I was thinking about your comment last week, Tiffany, when you talked about Meech and Terry and how they looked up to Pat and how he was kind of like a hero to them. And so to see him on those drugs was like, wow, like that was a reality, like a rude awakening for them to see, like, dang, like somebody I really looked up to is kind of like a letdown to me.
That's a good point. And maybe that is from that standpoint.
Yeah, you could look like Kato like a fake hero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, we got
that's true.
Old girl.
Yeah. I called it last week because I said that little bathroom scene last week didn't make me think 1 minute that she was afraid of him in that regard. She was actually giving up some nuggets.
Oh, she did. Well, I agree. And I know one of our commenters said something about that, says he's a whole snitch, and they thought that we were making excuses for Kato. And I was like, no, I mean, we still put her on the hands list, but we also, I remember, Ron, you said we were going to wait and see this week. I still think she's afraid of him because he did put a gun in her mouth too. I mean, come on now. I mean, she has every reason to be afraid of him. But
my thing is, you don't shoot at somebody you're afraid of. Even if you're thinking that you're trying to make it
because she had to save face, though.
I understand that, but you're dealing with an idiot, and so you got to ask: if I shoot at him, is he going to understand this whole scenario? Because they never worked it out, so it was like impromptu. She thought quickly and smartly, I should say, to go ahead and start shooting at him. But Lamar, he doesn't have a brain to consider anything. So he just thought she was trying to kill him.
I think
he's hoping she was.
Well, you know what I mean? She said that because she missed. Either she said that because she missed, or she really did shoot to miss to pretend to keep her cover. But so let me not say I hope that. I would think in a woman in her position who's being threatened would seize the opportunity to remove the threat. Let me put it that
right.
Perfectly put.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, because we talked about this a little bit off camera, but we were saying, like, if Lamar truly is this huge threat and you had the opportunity to kill him, I really think that she was probably shooting to try, but ended up missing. And so the way she saves face is by saying, like, look, I had to play like I was trying to, save Hoop from getting killed, and so she don't look funny to the crew.
Yeah,
she would be killed either way because listen, if she can get it from Lamar, and if she came up shaky, then Meech would kill her.
Yeah,
and really, like Meech doesn't seem to trust her much anyway. He doesn't seem to want her around much. Particularly when they're talking business. So, and it was interesting how they. Meech said, well, look, only 5 people knew. And he started the countdown And you know, the dice rolled to Kato. So I'm like,
and having Hoop there and be Mickey to kind of back her was her saving grace at this point. So that really, like, her shooting back really saved her.
Yeah, because you know, and I can understand Hoop, you know, because he was looking at death. So you know, for her to fire back and kind of squash what was going on, you know, I can see him thinking that, you know, she saved his life, and in all respects she did. But you know, at this point in time, she's got to start thinking about survival. And if she takes out Lamar, it's going to look good for Meech and Terry. You know, and she really, you know, her time is up. She doesn't have much time to decide which end she's going to play, because if she keeps playing Lamar, you know, that's a definite death sentence. So she better get on board with Meech and Terry real quick.
And I was just thinking about how much she gave up, because she told him about the
stash, the food truck,
stash, and the food truck. Yeah, and so I was like, that's a lot. She was really messing up their business on all fronts, and so they really don't have anything at this point.
Right. And it can't help but come back to her. Only 5 people knew, and she's the newest person out the circle. She's the one that they really don't know, and they really can't trust. I don't see how she comes out of it unless
I think they setting her up at this point. At this point, I think they may be setting her up, and I think she could be Mickey's downfall.
She could be, but you know, I think she's playing Mickey too. You know, she wants to stay in the loop, so. You know, she's giving.
Oh, I think so too. But I mean, for him, if he's not wise to her, he could be her. She could be his downfall.
Look, Meech is 2 seconds from killing that boy. So you know, she might be putting him in danger as well. So she really needs to start. You know, her cards. You know, whatever game she's playing, she's not doing it very well.
Not at all. And like the fact that she would change up from, you know, having this strong position about not sleeping with anybody in the crew to all of a sudden like giving it up to be Mickey. I think that he's a little bit smarter.
I think so too. That's what I said. I think they setting her up. I think he on to her.
He's sprung.
He gonna take it, of course. But I think that
he's sprung.
I think he knows what's up because he knows what she told him.
That like, boy, you can drive a tractor trailer up his nose. He is sprung.
Well, I was hoping that he's not, you know, he's not going to put his feelings over actual reason. Like, you got to have some common sense.
Well, I mean, look at it. He doesn't like, you know, he's beefing with Meech, which is a bad thing to do anyways.
Well, Meech is beefing with him.
Well, I'm saying there's a beef. So, you know.
And I was even trying to figure out if that was justified because, like, his mom is in the hospital. What do you want him to do?
Right.
But you know,
business has to go on. But it's mom's now.
I know, but that's a business that just doesn't. You know, you can't take holidays and breaks.
Well, he wasn't returning calls. That's what I think. That was the issue. He was like out of pocket.
Exactly.
And stuff. And I think had he said that, people were like, oh, okay, he with moms, whatever. But because he was MIA, that made it worse.
And it makes him look funny too now.
It does, because now the stash spot is hit and you know where to be found. I mean, didn't we go over this with the Kanan and that's why he thought Scrappy was suspect. I mean, you know, Mama did because he was sick that day that the stash got hit.
Again, levels of communication that spoils the soup. Because if he had just made a phone call, like you said, maybe they could have gotten somebody else at the stash house, you know, while he's at his mom, you know, with his mom. But you just can't leave a stash house empty and vacant like that. You know, that's just an absolute no-no. They've lost everything.
Yeah. And then, you know, it doesn't help that earlier in the episode, Lamar was, you know, fronting all up in the Foot Locker on Terry. So I'm like, you know, Lamar really is bold the way he tried to play him in front of his, you know, his family, in front of his baby mom standing right there.
Well, I want to know who picked up the money.
Somebody worked at the shoe store.
Yeah. I was about to say somebody got it.
I feel like what you said, T, when you said back then there was a code about family and stuff, because they were really getting ready to press up on Terry until they saw him with his girl and the baby and all that, and then they then they fell back. So, you know, you said that, like there was a code back then, like no kids, no family, no, you know.
Except that what it does now, you know, as we see Lamar progressing with his family, Lamar becomes a weaker person. And I think that's what I saw when he saw the baby. He now can relate because, you know, he's back in with with Mo and the baby girl. And now he has a soft spot. And, you know, that could be dangerous for him because we know in this type of line of business, you can't have too deep a connection. So, you know, he got a little bit from Mo this episode.
Yeah.
He's still got the Mo.
What y'all think? She's still on the hands list or what?
Yeah, she.
I mean, yeah, I think she got it.
I think Mo. I don't know. Mo is doing what. Look, I understand. I understand where Mo. I understand where she's coming from. You know, she's looking at. Okay, he gives her a diamond necklace or whatever that was he put around her neck. You know, he's doing right by baby girl, and you know her feelings are caught up now. So, you know, Lamar,
he is putting on the front of being a changed man.
Yeah, he is. Definitely. He is. He's putting on the front and stuff. It's just like I just was thinking how to switch up on me.
It was swift, wasn't it?
It was real. It was that's where I'm coming from. I get it. This is somebody from your past, and I guess she don't owe Meech nothing. I guess people think because one of our commenters said, well, you know, Meech shouldn't have popped up at the house unannounced, and that's true. But I think he came because he was trying to reach out. She didn't respond, you know, and he thought she was in danger because of the Lamar situation. Yeah. So I think, I mean, it's understandable if she had a connection with this man and he is the so-called father of her child, but the switch up on Meech and then how she carried it last week, like, oh, I'm gonna call the police and all this other stuff. That's why I felt like she needed to be on the hands list.
Well, I'm probably going to get in trouble saying this, but you know how y'all women always want closure.
You about to get on. Yeah, you about to get in trouble.
She never had closure.
We about to put Ron on the hands list.
She never had closure with Lamar. So, you know.
When he went to the Bing.
Yeah, when he went to the Bing, she didn't have closure. And when he comes back, he's smelling good. You know, he's acting right. And so, you know, her nose is wide open. So she's doing what, you know, I don't think she ever really, she might not have really been that much into Meech anyway. It was probably, you know, hey, this is just
he's on top. He's on top and everything and stuff. And he's the man. And that could have been, it may not have been that deep for her. Who knows?
No, I don't think it was, because if it was, then she could flip the switch that fast. Well, that's a strong woman. She needs to be on the hands list 24/7.
Yeah, well, I guess everybody want that old thing back because Meech went right over to Lori's house. Yes, Soraya make her debut on the show.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, shout out to her. I love the little bob cut. It was kind of like the Halle Berry bob.
Yeah, it did like a Halle Berry cut.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, that looks
really I'm remembering all these hairstyles I had. First, LaWanda and then her. I was like, oh, I've had all.
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Yes. So I thought it was really funny how Lori, you know, Meech goes over there trying to sweet talk her or whatever. And she's like, look, you ain't even got to do all that. We both got needs.
Right.
And then right afterwards, she's like, okay, so she gives him the universal, you got to get up out of here line. Like,
right.
But you see he didn't struggle with it because he knows what time it is. Yeah, I understand.
Well, he was like, you going to use me for a manhood? Pretty much.
That's right. Yep. I'll do it. So, hey, you know. So he understood. He understood.
Yeah, that was funny to me. And now I want to talk about this whole situation with Pat, because we talked a little bit about that at the opening, how they viewed him as kind of like their hero. And we even seen that in the opening scene, as you know, we seen young Meech in the store trying to finesse the girls and buy them some popcorn. I'm sorry, some pop as they call it, and some chips with the food stamps, and he got embarrassed. And so Pat really was his hero in that moment, because he was like, here, let me break you off a little something, you know, get them something nice, like do something, show them you the man.
Yeah, so that's why he wanted to wait outside.
Right, right.
Look, let that be a lesson to all these young boys. Don't flex unless you got muscle, okay?
Yeah.
You didn't have any money in your pocket and you trying to flex with these. Nah, look, leave the flexing alone till you get some muscle, okay? You didn't have any muscle.
Well, Pat Pat tried to save him. And so I think that's why that relationship is that way. Like even towards the end of the episode, you heard Meech say, you know, Pat was more than just a plug. He was a family member to them.
Yeah,
and so it was a big letdown seeing where he ended up, even having Rock say, you know, like he ain't the man no more. He fell off a while ago.
And that right there is
Rock wasn't to be trusted either though.
Yeah.
Well, but Rock, that was the catalyst for Meech, and it should have been. I mean, because now he can look at Pat full circle. I mean, he knows that he's using. He knows that he's not the man everybody thought he was. His supply is drying up. Not to mention he's using what he has, and so it to me would give him a springboard to say, okay, I can leave this fool now, however means necessary. Do I have to kill him? Or do I just, go? And another thing, after that scene in the woods, Pat is crazy.
Yeah, I think they need to understand that he might have fallen off. He might be using drugs, but he is still not one to play with.
No.
Yeah, he's still ruthless and unstable.
Very unstable.
Unstable, and he can touch them,
Yes.
Yeah.
The way they got snatched up in that van, I was like, what is going on here?
Yeah, you've got one time to kidnap my behind like that.
Yeah, I was trying to understand this whole situation with Rock, because I'm like, was he actually going to provide them with a legitimate plug, or was that all a setup all along? And I think it might have been both.
Yeah,
I think it was both.
Because I think at some point, Pat probably sniffed on to what Rock was doing. And then he was like, so I'm gonna let you arrange this setup and have it, under the guise that you meet in the plug, but you about to be up out of here too.
Yeah, it only makes sense because he did take their money, and that would be a hard thing to sell to Pat, and so Pat must have discovered it or found out some kind of way, and decided, hey, let's teach these, well, actually Pat had a different plan in mind. He set it up to think that we were going to teach these boys a lesson, but Rock got that lesson. He got it
real hard. I mean, that was gruesome. That's a horrible way to go.
That's a horrible way to go.
And then I think that it sent a huge message to Terry and Meech that, like, this ain't what you want. So him, making them clean it up, it's kind of like, you need to recognize who you're dealing with.
That was a whole Goodfellas scene. That's what that reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's interesting about that? Both of them, from like we say a lot, like Meech, they're gonna have to get rid of people. But if you pay attention to it, it shows that these boys have a conscience, and they really not trying to go that route.
Right.
Them, they figure we'll just pay the person. We talked about that. They want to incentivize, and they feel like the more money we have, the more money we can give people to do stuff for us, and we may not have to be as violent. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they have an aversion because they keep seeing these flashbacks and seeing.
Yeah.
It's like they emphasize the fact that they were raised in a good home. So,
and with the Bible, they're spiritual. You saw that he was getting his child baptized, so they have a spiritual foundation.
Well, in the real story, Meech and Terry weren't violent folks anyways. They were more about business. And so what we're seeing some of that play out here in the episodes. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing, but at the same token, you can't be in this business and be soft. I mean, it's, your move you have to make a move when that move is presented. And like right now, from what it looks like this is the best time for them to make that move.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also like, it's not about I guess what you're saying about being soft, like that's very true. You have to be, hardcore, put on that front, even if you're not that. But also you can see that if you try to go out here and pile up the bodies, it brings the wrong type of attention, because the way that Detective Bryant rolled up at the christening, in front of his entire family, you could tell that he is getting put on Bryant, and in turn he's putting that same heat on Meech. And so you don't want that kind of attention with bodies floating up the river all of a sudden. And then, it's only a matter of time before, hopefully they don't find Rock, but the more bodies, the more problems.
Yeah, I think that's their approach, right? They recognize that there are certain things that's going to bring attention, and they're not trying to go that route. They're trying to handle business. They're trying to say we can smooth this over with the art of negotiation and money. But you see, there are a certain type that is attracted to this life, like Pat, like Lamar, who don't mind using violence. And so it's interesting trying to see them navigate it and change the game, right? They're like, we're already doing an illicit business, and it is dangerous. But do you have to be violent to do it? I think that's kind of the proposition they're proposing at this moment, right? If we come into the game, we share the wealth, we making sure that everybody has, there's no need for, jealousy or people feeling like they're not getting their due. Do we have to go that route?
Right.
That's what I'm getting out of it.
I get it too, but when you have a Pat and a Lamar on both ends of you, I don't know how you can play the game you really want to play, because they're both just as dangerous. And now that Lamar knows your routines, and Lamar's got to go, and he's got to go quick.
Yes.
And
I think he's forcing their hand for sure. I think he's forcing their hand.
And Pat is just one ticket out anyway, because he's just messing himself up, if no more than that. But Detective Bryant needs to turn in his badge and decide to go straight. I mean, just go straight over to the hood, because, if I were Detective Bryant, I don't think I would have taken that cash from Meech at that point in time, because he said, everybody's after you guys. They all know you. And he's putting his job in jeopardy big time, but Meech punked him and said, look, I need you as much as you need me. Here's the cash.
Well, it's true. I mean, it's the truth.
Well,
because he's already in too deep.
Yeah, he is. But at some point, he's at a point of, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue with Meech and just shut your mouth? Or are you going to, be a cop? Because he doesn't have any, time's running out on him too.
Yeah, you see that other cop knew. I was gonna say that other cop knew, because he was like, "You're not the same person that took the same vow that I did." So that other dude called him out, like, like, I'm being a cop here. I don't know what you doing,
Detective.
It seemed like he was trying to be shady and try to like, all right, you go in, do the dive. I'm gonna try to get ahead of this, and then if you find anything, pass it on to me, and I'll take care of it.
Right.
He was trying to do stuff off the books and trying to clean it up himself. And I think that's why he got called out by his colleague. And so everybody's kind of looking at him funny, even when they were at the meeting for the unit, and they were discussing, all the missing people, and then they were talking about Meech, and he kept trying to divert their attention from Meech and push towards Lamar. Like, I think that they noticed that, and they're like, okay, you sketchy.
Yeah, technically, he really wasn't wrong about that.
He wasn't. He wasn't.
Yeah, because I mean, Lamar is the one that's really creating all this havoc, right?
He is.
Yeah, I just wondering if in their minds they can see that Bryant is riding for Meech hard, and so it just calls into question his dealings. Like, what do you have with this guy that you defended him so hard?
The partner does, because he sees it the most. So he's definitely on to him and suspicious of him.
But I think it's only a matter of time for that partner starts outing him to the rest of the department.
Oh, yeah, he don't have to go.
And
he probably won't have to go.
And now that Detective Wallace found the body, and, here we have the student becoming the master. And, the question is, how much loyalty is there with Detective Bryant and Detective Wallace? Because Detective Wallace seems like he's on point. And I'm not certain if he has the same characteristics, it doesn't seem as though, as Detective Bryant. So he's already sniffed that whole thing out.
Well, I wonder if they removed the handcuffs, right? Because remember, he was handcuffed. So that's the only thing besides somebody saw him pick him up and saw him in the back of the car. The only other thing that would time would be whether or not he still had the handcuffs on.
That's
hopefully
a good
they had
point.
good sense to
That
him.
is a good point.
And he didn't have marks or bruises showing that he had been handcuffed.
Right.
He would, because.
And that body was bloated. So he would definitely have the marks if they were still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the family unit, because we've seen the pastor's niece, she was able to file the lawsuit for them, and she came in and questioned Terry about his eye and everything. And it seemed like, you know, Lucille was trying to work things out with Charles after the fact. You know, Charles still don't really trust that lawyer because of who she's associated with. But I thought that we kind of were thinking, like, is this real? Is Charles really gonna roll out on the family? And he's sticking to his guns.
Yeah, he's got one more step before he gets the hands list. Because I'm gonna tell you, I was a little fed up with Sir Charles. Okay, we all know how you feel, Charles. You made that point explicitly clear. We got it. And I like what Terry said to him as well, because, you know, Terry tried to clear his head too.
Tell him put his pride to the side.
Put your pride to the side and let's deal with the family issue, you know. And okay, so we're at the church, we're outside, you know, here comes Detective Bryant. And now you're looking at the two cars and, you know, everybody was going to go out and have breakfast or lunch or whatever. And now you decide to walk off. You're about to get on the hands list.
But wait a minute. What if you don't want that life? What if you want to go through
right? That's what I say. He's not wrong for being,
okay,
you know, opposed to the lifestyle.
Okay, to be opposed, he has, okay, if he's that much opposed to the lifestyle, divorce, move on. But you can't hang in there on a thread. You got to either do one thing. You're either going to accept what you have and build forward or get out of Dodge. You just can't do both. And so that walking away to me says, I'm done. And if
I don't think it says I'm done. I think it says I'm trying to show you, teach you a lesson.
I said it says to me, I'm done. Now, if I get back in the next episode and you at home sitting there, you know, eating dinner and acting like no rain has fallen, I got a problem with you. You know, you're either going to do family or not do family. But make up your mind.
I think I'm going to do family where it's safe. I'm going to see you at the church and then I'm out.
Right. And I think that's where he is too.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I think he understands the dangers of the lifestyle. Like, think about it. This is like what, the 80s, you know, probably. And so this is where things are getting ramped up. I mean, in Detroit, I'm not sure how.
Gotten shot. Terry's already got. I mean, how close can it get? I mean, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure how bad it was in Detroit in the 80s, but think about other cities and how horrible it got, how it tore down entire communities. And even if, you know, word spread about that, you know, I'm sure Charles has heard a thing or two.
Crime was bad then there. I mean, and I didn't even live in Detroit. Detroit was really bad.
Oh, really?
But it was bad everywhere. I was in Texas and we had gangs and shootings at football games and stuff. So like when I'm thinking about this, you know, it's a wonder my parents let me go out the house because we lost a lot of people like that. A lot of kids we went to school with.
It was that way in DC, everywhere. But, you know, I'm not saying that Charles doesn't have reasoning to feel the way he does. He does. But your back is clearly up against the wall. Lucille, if he were to leave, I don't think she's going to leave with him. So Lucille is all in family. She wants to make family work. But Charles, you either got to, I don't know how at this juncture you're going to control your boys. They are who they are. And
I think he's just feeling real unappreciated.
Thank you.
By his wife,
I got
by
that.
his kids.
Oh, I got that.
So it's like
emasculated. He is feeling emasculated, and you know his headship has been usurped. I think he just wants respect at this point.
I got that, but what is he going to do?
He wants respect too, but you can't underplay or underestimate that feeling of you want to be safe and you don't want to have everything you work for destroyed by your association to a criminal enterprise, or you getting arrested because your kids are involved in something,
right. Or killed.
But you walked this straight line your whole life. And I mean, it's a really difficult situation to be in because this is your family, and whether your headship is challenged or not, you don't want to leave your family. You don't want to miss out on your first grandchild being Christian. So I'm one of those people. I don't want any of that in my life. So I'm kind of, I'm biased. I feel him on that. And so I'm like, don't have the cops rolling up on me asking me questions. I don't want that. I don't want to hear any of it.
That.
No, I'm that way too. I mean, if my wife and my boys had it such that that's the life they want to live, and I'm against it, I got a jet. I just gotta go. I mean, we can parent.
Well, they gotta go, which is what he said to Meech. Like, gotta be someplace else.
But Lucille has to, this rift between Lucille and Charles is a big one, because
you can tell she's on the fence. She's stuck in between both parties, and she's trying to keep everybody together.
Right.
But it's tearing her apart that she can't have her family on one united front.
Right.
So I just want to see how that's going to play out, and hopefully they can find some resolution with this lawsuit, because if you've seen the previews for next week, they talking about a big chunk of money that the hospital is willing to pay out, and so maybe that can help alleviate some of the problems in that household.
Well, they were tripping because they were only talking about like $20,000, and then and
it's not
then,
much at all,
which isn't much. And
well,
so they
back then it might have went back further.
Yeah, back in the 80s, I mean, that was a pretty good chump change, to have. But I don't think
I think
back. The lawyer,
I think they got more than that, because they did push. And
Lucille pushed back. Charles looked like, oh, this is a lot, but Lucille was like, not for losing your vision.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the lawyer,
and it was their fault too.
And the lawyer is probably savvy enough to smell through 25,000. That's just a drop in the bucket. No, we're not.
She's like, she got to get her thirds.
Right.
Right. That's hush money.
Yeah, that's what it is. Exactly.
And we're talking about Terry, but the last scene of this episode, we see that Terry finally met his plug that he initially had set up, that he had went to the bar to meet, and they never showed up. Turns out he was being watched, and his plug, Big L, is actually the woman that he talked to at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And she had been studying his moves, watching how he moved. And I think we have called this out in previous episodes, how we appreciate how focused Terry is, because Meech is into very much the lifestyle. He's into the women and partying and
kind of loud.
Yes, but Terry is like very focused. He,
laid
doesn't
back.
really deal with too many women. He's focused on his family at this point, and he's not into that as much. He's all about the business.
And that's why she was like, I'm just going to deal with you.
Yes.
She watched, she didn't just observe him, she observed Meech too. And she was like, oh no, I'm going to deal with him, because he kind of laid back and under the radar.
And you can see where the tear is between Meech and Terry, because Meech is going to find that out, and it's not going to set well with him at all. And so, I think this would be the juncture where you would mark the beginning of an end with the two of them, because
I don't know.
Well, they're partners. Listen, if we partners and you got to connect and I don't, then it's a win for us.
But remember, we're talking about Meech. Like you said, Meech is only interested in, women getting high and having a great time.
Their team.
Yeah, but
that connect is going to help them both.
No, I think that at this point in time, Terry doesn't trust Meech to make decisions. And that's why Terry has been like nailing it into his head. Like, this is a 50-50 partnership. I need to be able to make some decisions and have some input. And that he suggested earlier some other plug, which Meech kind of shot down immediately, which had Terry been heard out, they wouldn't have ended up in that situation with Pat.
Right.
So I think that now that has happened, I think that Terry bringing Big L to the picture will be actually something that Meech will listen to. Like, okay, my way didn't work.
And Terry called him a narcissist. He said, you're one of the, so he knows who he's dealing with. And Meech, he's very territorial. And if it's not his way, it's the highway. And, in fact, Terry mentioned something to that effect in one of the previous episodes. So it's just going to be real interesting when he presents, it'll be even more interesting how Terry presents himself with the new distro to to Meech and says to Meech, oh, by the way, she don't want to be bothered with you.
Well, at this point, they ain't got no choice. They have nothing.
Right. Listen, their team, if Terry wins, Meech wins too. So I, like I said, if my partner had the connect, then what we, I'm like, all right, you handle that.
Yeah, you're from Philly, right? Brotherly love. Yeah, well, that brotherly love may not last as long in Detroit, so we'll see.
No, I mean, listen, we saw last week when they talked about the trust between the brothers and stuff. Like, when one got the whooping, and they both took it for the team. They didn't snitch on each other. Like they are a team regardless of what. So I think, if they were like, well, she only wants to deal with me, then it is what it is.
Right. And I mean, this might be a prediction, but I was looking at the situation, and I know Terry is very business minded and focused on what he has going on. But Big L kind of fine, she's a good looking woman.
Yeah.
And so I'm like,
I
present a problem.
You better
I
know.
think that too. I was like,
You better know. I mean, look, Terry's like, okay.
She got it going on.
Yeah, and she probably observed that about him too, because both Meech and Terry are nice looking men, young men. Yes. Yeah. So she probably observed that as well.
I'm sure. Like I said, is this the end?
Well, you know what? I had a bone to pick with Terry last week, and I didn't even mention it, about the fact that he was being selfish with the girlfriend, LaWanda. We talked about that when he walked into the car and all. So I'm talking about the little sex scene, what he wanted from her, and he was not willing to reciprocate. And I was like, okay, you're selfish. And he really should have got the hands for that comment. When I thought about it, I was like, damn, you should have put him on the hands list for that comment, being selfish.
Well, maybe he'll come around. I don't know, because he might have
somebody's against his religion, but he don't want. No.
Yeah, well, you should have said something. I would have been gladly put him on the hands list for that move. Yeah.
Well, he might have some making up to do with LaWanda soon, so maybe he'll get it together.
Right.
But I really enjoyed this episode. I think that it's setting us up for the rest of the season. I think it's going to ramp up from here, and it looks like next week. I seen this clip of Pastor Swift offering Bryant some money, and so I'm like, well, right now Meech and Bryant have this situation going, and Meech is kind of telling Bryant, like, you need me just as much as I need you. But if Bryant is getting money from Pastor Swift, then maybe I don't need Meech quite as much. Maybe I can cut him out. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a problem. And then I'm like, well, what else is the pastor involved in that he needs to pay off a cop?
Right, well, there you go.
I'm like, is he like Papa's dad? Remember he was shaky in the church too, in the shy.
Yeah, what are they trying to tell us about church?
Well, I think you can take what you want from that.
Right.
Okay.
And then it looks like next week Kato is also being called out, because she's out there questioning Terry for his decision, and me just kind of like, hold up, you need to stay in your spot, like you a foot soldier, remember that. And so I'm like, she on her way up out of here. I was going to say
her days are numbered. I see it. Her days are numbered.
Yeah, because she constantly is questioning them about stuff that really is not on her level in the organization. So I think she quite frequently oversteps her bound.
I think Terry's going to explore that situation from this episode a little deeper. Only 5 people knew, and you're the only odd man out. So it's got to come up. That number's got to come up.
Yeah. And it also looks like there's a man tied up in a chair, and look like, Terry or somebody's like kicking the chair down. So I'm like, uh-oh, is this getting, a little bit deeper in the game where they got to tie people up and threaten and harass them? So I'm like, we might see some more violence. I don't know.
You got it.
But Terry did say he was going to start ruling with an iron fist. So this might be the beginning of it.
And you saw that call between Meech and Lamar.
And, yes.
So it looks like they're ready to get their hands dirty. And so.
Yeah, I mean, Lamar said, he basically said to Meech, like, you're signing your own death warrant. And Meech was like, you know, I'm willing to take that risk.
Right.
So
yeah, it looks like they slick. It looks like that's who they had kidnapped and stuff. So maybe Meech and them grab him next week to try to make a statement to Lamar.
Maybe, and it looks like even in Lamar's organization, there's some issues stirring up because he was about to, you know, put his gun up to somebody in the crew's head. So I'm like, they really not feeling him. And that really, the whole situation with Kato would have made all the more sense, because if you take Lamar out, like his own crew don't even roll with him like that. So it would, like, nobody really is going to miss him for real.
Right. It was a hostile takeover. That's why they don't respect him, because for Mel and stuff, all of a sudden that happened and then J-Mo's gone. So yeah, they don't trust him.
Yeah.
And the sooner the better. You know, you got to take him out sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So have we decided on the hands list this week?
Lamar can officially stay on the list.
Yeah, he looks like he's gonna be a permanent resident, just like Tariq was in Power. So him,
Kato,
we keeping Kato on.
Kato gotta stay on.
What about Mo? Is she staying on or not?
I don't see Mo this week.
I think I can let her slide because she feels like Lamar is a change man. So I'm gonna let her slide.
Okay, we're gonna let her off the list. So it's Kato and Lamar. Well, yeah, we missed the boat with Terry. Terry should have got it last week. Okay.
I really want to put Charles on, but I can't because I understand his position.
I was going to say, I don't think he deserved to be on the list just yet.
Yeah.
Give him time.
Yeah, give him time. Look, everybody probably have a turn before it's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'm okay with Lamar and Kato staying on the list.
Yeah.
Permanent residents.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Well, do you guys have any other predictions you want to throw out there for next week, or any comments you want to add before we shut down?
I think we covered it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody who is viewing us. Thank you for watching. Please make sure that you drop down in the comment section and let us know what you thought about this episode, and give us your predictions for the rest of the season as well. Also, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube, click the notification bell also so that you get alerted every time we post. We are on social media as well at The Spot Real Talk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. So if you guys have anything you want to talk about in the comment sections, drop down there. We love conversing with you guys, going back and forth, hearing your thoughts and theories. And make sure you're back here next week, same place, same time. Tell your mama, tell your cousin, tell all of them. Come and hop on The Spot Real Talk.
Yes, ma'am. Power Book's coming back. When's that?
November.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We got time.
Yeah, we got a few.
Insecure is next week.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff coming up our sleeve, so we'll definitely continue with BMF. We're definitely going to be doing Insecure. It's the final season, so we got to. Mm-hmm. And then as Power Book comes back, we'll hop back on that as well. And you guys, I know some of you guys have suggestions for shows that you would like us to recap. We always take your suggestions. And hopefully, we got a packed schedule with all of these shows about to release around the same time. So we'll try to take your suggestions into consideration as well. So until next week, I think we're gonna call it a night. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, all this money on